Hello, everyone. My name is Timothy McKay, and I will be presenting my research methods proposal. Here is what we'll be going over today, starting with my introduction. So, my paper is titled Weck Weck and the Star Maidens, a quantitative study of culturally responsive teaching in general education biology. Weck 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 and the Star Maidens is a story that I'll be using to abide by the culturally responsive teaching guidelines. My topic was chosen because I myself am Native American and use stories like this to connect to the material. My teaching practice follows culturally responsive teaching and culturally responsive pedagogies, where I want to use culture to help students connect and understand material better. This is something I found very interesting before. I didn't think there was research like this, but then I found a lab that did it, and my PI showed me how it's done. And then there's a lack of research in this area, as we'll see in the next slide. So, because of this, there's a lack of representation in STEM by historically marginalized students. These are students who are identify as a certain race, a certain gender, have certain disabilities. We'll expand on this further. And because we go towards a more traditional method, which is just sitting and lecturing, students like this are having trouble connecting to the material and they're not going into STEM. Versus active learning, which uses their experience to connect to the material and it helps them want to be in STEM and have an identity there. Research using CRT, culturally responsive teaching, in higher education STEM is limited. All these studies show most of it's done in K through 12. This study shows that there's very few on higher education biology, maybe 3. And strategies for helping students understand these topics are needed, which is where my study comes in. So the purpose is to determine the effective culturally responsive teaching and indigenous storytelling framework would be in aiding students' culturally understanding of biology, recognition of indigenous knowledge as a valid science, perceptions of science as culturally embedded, curiosity about the natural world, and help students understand biology topics like mitosis and meiosis better. So the research questions, I have 3. Will storytelling have a significant impact on culturally or on conceptual understanding of biology, recognition of indigenous knowledge as valid science, perceptions of science as culturally embedded, and curiosity about the natural world? Are there significant differences between pre and post instruction of those variables? And are there significant differences between the control and the experimental group of these variables? The sample will be general education. It will be a general education biology lab. This is selected as the main biology topic of measure, is being seen for the first time by students. So the lab is what really introduces students in most cases, and it has a full lab. Sampling method I used was simple random sampling. So, new terms, culturally responsive teaching, which is a pedagogy that recognizes the relevance of students' culture in all aspects of learning. Historically marginalized, students who, by virtue of their race, gender, geographic location, language, learning status, sexual orientation, religion, physical, cognitive abilities, etc., have been pitched to the margins of educational system and are therefore underserved or disadvantaged. Active learning, a learning model that engages students in the learning process beyond listening and passive note taking. And Truthful method is teacher direct, where students are taught in a manner that is conducive to sitting and listening. My lit review, to find my literature, I focused on key terms like culturally relevant pedagogies, active learning, misconceptions of mitosis and meiosis, curiosity. I used Fresno State's library and Google Scholar to find the literature, and I feel confident that I cited them properly as I used the database's citation tools, and if I was not sure, I looked at Al Purdue's APA guide. Most literature was in the last 15 years, as we saw. So methodology, it's a quantitative study using valid and reliable surveys to collect data, and this will be in a pre and post survey format. Sample size is 24 participants per lab section. My goal is to get as many lab sections as possible. Data will be obtained through Qualtrics, where we'll send out emails to each student, and the students will answer the survey, and the survey will be implemented during lab time. The data will be analyzed by paired t-test, mixed models, and ANOVAs. The implications: if this research goes forward and gets results, we could see more cultural examples implemented, more representation, we could see more active learning and show that it once again is better than traditional lecturing. And then the elderberry phenomenon, which is a part of the story I'm using, could become something new to teach something like mitosis with. Limits of this survey are not thoughtfully completed. So we have attention questions. If they're not thoughtfully completed, the data won't be used. Small sample size and researcher. Here are my references, and thank you for listening to my presentation.